feeling good? All right. Got your cup on, your mouthpiece. Good luck, you guys. Good luck. Got your cup on? All right. Mouthpiece. Good luck, you guys. Good luck. Yes.
So one thing I will say, and I've done a couple of these. Luis, right?
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the first round of the evening. Introducing first to the walk line left. Backing on the red corner. Wearing the green with yellow stripe. He weighing at 125 pounds.
Here's the referee talking. Just stop, because it'll end up being
and across the ring, fighting out of the blue corner. Wearing the black and camouflage colors. He weighing at 122 pounds. He has a record of 8 minutes with 2 feet. From
Gentlemen, keep your guards up at all times. When I say break, take a step back without punching. In case they're knocked down, go to the furthest neutral corner. Don't come out of the neutral corner until I say box. Give me a good, clean fight. Good luck to both of you. Shake hands.
David.
Welcome, folks, to El Paso, Texas. We are here hosting, the Athlete Meet TV is hosting this exciting fight card here in El Paso. We're about to kick off with our first fight of the night, and we're starting off with Alec Mcgee versus Josh PerArdua. And I'm going to be right off the bat. I've seen Alex Mcgee fight before. He's got an 8-2 record. His opponent, 8-8. So on paper, you'd say Alex Mcgee's probably the favorite in this fight. But he's fighting a tough opponent, and one of the interesting things is both of these guys have a pretty good chin, not a lot of punching power, at least on paper. So I'm going to say right off the bat, we're probably going to get 4 rounds of action here. I'm here with Luis Trevino from WarriorsEdgeBoxing.com. And Luis, it's great to be working with you here at this event. And have you seen Alec or Alec or Jesus fight before?
Well, pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me, sir, and thanks for everybody having me. Yeah, I've seen Mcgee fight. He's a local fighter. Trains pretty well. He works hard, and he's a fan favorite. So yeah, I've seen him fight.
And this is really a good fight for him. I mean, 8-8, like I said, 8-8 versus 8-2. Most people look at that on paper and say, you know what, I would say the 8-2 guys in pretty good, should come out on top. But with that being said, we got an opponent here with a good amount of experience. And quite frankly, Alec had struggled in the past against guys that he probably should have done better against. So, you know, he's still a work in progress. He's still developing. But those of us who have seen him fight several times have seen, you know, we've seen something in him. You know, there's definitely flashes of brilliance there, and you know, he's definitely, you know, a work in progress. But he is a good fighter. We can see the talent there. And the question is here, this is a little bit of a step up in class because PerArdua, he's 31 years old. He's been fighting professionally now for over 10 years. He's got a lot of wins. He's fought pretty much everybody in the Southwest, and he's got a lot of wins against the Tier 2 fighters, if you will. This is going to be a good opportunity for Alec to take that next step, and you know, he's going to have to, because once you get that 10th fight, you know, once things start to move pretty quickly as a professional. There's no, you know, let's take a tune-up fight against a guy making his pro debut. You know, there's none of that after 10 fights.
Yeah, and you know what, Adam,
Dave,
I'm sorry. This is he has his work cut out for him, man. Mcgee looks good off the hand, but you know what? What was his? PerArdua is very active and fights in the middle, and he's giving Mcgee a run for his money. And like I said, they're evenly matched, but you know, experience is going to do a lot of talking here. As you can see here, he has him against the ropes.
And that's one of the things too, is like, you know, you see Alec has got some good speed, some good boxing skills. One of the concerns that I've had is, you know, he's only got one knockout in those 10 fights.
Nice left.
Talk about a perfectly timed knockdown. Lands a beautiful left hand. Right after I said he's only had one knockdown, I was going to say I'd like to see some power from him. Well,
there you have it.
There you have it.
There you have it.
You know, that is definitely a good shot, and it's right at the end of the round. I don't know if he has time. He doesn't. He doesn't have time to act on it, but the fans are pretty excited about that. And I got to say that right there, that shows some advancement in his career, because that's one of the concerns I had. 8-2, one knockout. I was like, at some point he's going to have to be able to you know, dig down in his punches a little bit more. And
you know what, and a lot of it has to do with he's a local boy, man. I mean, he has that momentum going, build up. So, man, kudos to him. What a shot. And again, that was a great round for him.
It really was, because I'll be honest, up until that point, I think the round probably would not have gone his way because of activity. PerArdua was more active. You know,
I agree.
Keeping his back against the ropes, and yeah, you know what? I think he won that round based off that knockdown.
Yeah, and you're right. PerArdua was real active, and he was a pressure fighter, and that's something that Mcgee has struggled with, pressure fighters, like you say. And he was pressuring and pressuring. But that was good. A good point on Mcgee there. Here we go.
Well, we're starting round two, and this is Alec Mcgee has got to be very excited about how this first round went, and this display of power that we haven't seen from him before. Now, with that being said, if you're PerArdua, you got to be concerned, because PerArdua only has one knockout in his 8 wins. So they have 2 knockouts between the two of them, between 26 fights. So,
well, as you can see now here, man, he's not as aggressive as the first round. Now he's a little bit more cautious. Do you agree?
I agree, although he did find a home with that right hand twice, but Alec found a home for his right hand as well. And the thing about it is that knockdown in a 4-round fight is big, especially if you got 2 guys who may not score the knockout, 2 guys who are not known for power. You know, if the judges did not feel that Alec was losing that round before the knockdown, then you got a 10-8 round, and PerArdua's basically got to pitch a shutout at this point.
You're right. It's got to be a perfect fight almost for him.
Exactly.
And you know what, man? Mcgee's been training hard. I had followed this kid before, and this training camp was very successful for him. There's another one.
I've got to say, this is Alec Mcgee. I've seen him fight before. Like I said, flashes of brilliance, but it looks like this is the fight where he's really put it together.
Yeah, he looks strong. He looks determined, and he's in the middle. He looks pretty good.
Well, and he's controlling the distance very well. You know, he's always been a pretty good boxer. His defense is pretty good. He's countering very well so far. And as we know from his first 10 fights, he's got a good tank of gas on him. So, and if this has been a good camp for him, and all indications are it has, I've heard it from several people that he's had an excellent camp. Then I think we're gonna see we're already seeing probably his best performance. Now, obviously anything can happen in the boxing ring.
Yeah, exactly.
He's got two and a half more rounds. Anything can happen. But
and like you mentioned before, man, that experience is going to be a big factor. That's something that Mcgee has against him. Perdue has experience.
So that's true. But Alec Mcgee at 10 fights, you know, he's not a complete rookie in this. Now, I will say, you know, one of the things about PerArdua is, you know, he is got a little bit of that. I don't want to call it, you know, the journeyman mentality, but you know, when you're 8-8, you start looking for those paydays. It's not necessarily about you know, each fight moving your career forward. It's kind of about the, you know, keeping active, and he's already got a fight scheduled on April 8th, according to BoxRec.com, against Jasma Hogue, 4-11 fighter. That should be a winnable fight for him in Albuquerque, but you know, obviously, you know, he can't afford to get suspended here. You know, that fight goes out the door if, you know, he gets suspended. So you kind of wonder if that's going to be a motivation as well.
Yeah, and you're right. And like you say, man, look, man, it's the third round coming in. Anything can happen in boxing. That was a very good round for PerArdua. Do you agree? That was a pretty good round for him. Even though he was cautious, he was still methodical, and he was more smart on this round. I don't know if that's the thing to say. They were more cautious, man. So that was a good round.
And that's one of the things I like seeing about this, because that was my concern with Alec before, is, you know, with one knockout in 10 fights, I was wondering, you know, you get to that next level, and let's say, you know, at 14-2, Alec could be fighting for a regional belt. I'm not saying he's going to be fighting for, you know, he's not going to be the top 10 per se or anything like that. But, you know, a WBC Continental Americas or something like that. You know, it's not out of the realm of possibility that at 14-2 he can do that. But it's almost certain that if you're fighting, even for a regional belt, you're fighting a world-class fighter.
And here's another thing: you never know who you have in the crowd watching.
Exactly. You never do. And the thing for Alec is, you know, a world-class fighter, you don't want a situation where somebody's got the mindset of, like, this guy can't hurt me, I'm just going to walk through him. Now, I know there's a lot of guys who didn't look like power punchers, and their opponents probably thought that, but they still had enough pop to keep them honest. I think of, like, Chris Bird, the former heavyweight champion from Flint, Michigan. Chris Bird on paper, he didn't have a lot of power on paper, but you ever notice these guys would fight him, and he'd get their respect real quick. He had enough pop to make sure that they didn't just walk in with their hands down.
Well, he had that punch that's going to say, hey, listen to me, you're going to respect me.
Exactly. And I think this is the fight where I really feel confident that Alec Mcgee has shown that he's got that type of power. I'm going to be honest. I don't think we're ever going to see Alec Mcgee. Nobody's ever going to mistake Alec Mcgee for Deontay Wilder or mistake him for Ernie Shavers. But, you know, if he's got enough power that a guy has to respect him, you know, he may not be the kind of guy who's going to knock you out with one punch, but he's going to be the kind of guy that you can't just disregard your defense and throw caution to the wind against. Then, you know, then it becomes a battle of skill, and Alec's got some skill here, and he's pumping the jab in this round.
And here's another thing, man. It's a 4-round fight. You can't take a break in these 4 rounds.
Exactly.
He needs to go all out. He needs to be careful. But as you can see, Perdue is right in the middle again. He's starting like he did first round. He's very aggressive right now.
Alec's doing well with that left hook again. And
there you go.
You know, he landed a couple of them. And PerArdua is, you know, when he slows down, he's there to be kind of picked apart from the outside, but when he's aggressive like he was right there, you know, he does, you know, he obviously can give Alec some problems there. You know, these first 2 rounds are close enough that, you know, neither fighter should be sitting on them. You know, like I said, I think we both agree that Alec probably wasn't winning that first round before the knockdown.
We agree, yes.
So, I mean, I think all 3 judges will have Alec winning that round. The question is it 10-8 or 10-9? Because if it's a 10-9 round, it's just, you know, we're still in the ball game. If it's 10-8 round, then he's in much better shape.
Much better shape.
But that second round, you know, like you said, it could go either way.
Either way. I mean, and you saw the experience of Perdue. He's in the middle. He's more cautious now, but I think he's being aggressive. Now he's a little bit backpedaling now. But what a show by Mcgee so far. Wow, really, man, he's been doing great.
Well, nice body shot there. Right hand to the body. And You know, one of the things I'm liking for Mcgee is, you know, his footwork is really good. He controls the distance well. I didn't like that little exchange there with his back against the ropes, but he does generally control the distance in the ring pretty well.
And he defends himself pretty good. He has his hand good boxing IQ. He's doing pretty good. He's been cut already. He's cut on the right eye.
I see that now. Yeah, he does have a cut on the right eye. I don't see any indication from referee Rocky Burke that was caused by a headbutt. I'll be honest, I'd be surprised that will stop that they'll stop this fight over that cut unless it gets substantially worse. And even then, you know, if you got a fighter in a 4-round fight and we're 3.5 rounds through it, you want to give them every chance in that instance.
It doesn't look that bad, but you never know.
Right.
And if PerArdua saw it, he's going to attack that eye.
Exactly.
And this is going to be the last round, so we'll see if he goes out swinging. And I think he is.
PerArdua's, you know, coming into this fight, having lost a majority decision to Pablo Melgar, a 5-2-1 fighter. So had a similar record to Alec Mcgee, and he kept it really close in that fight. Before that, lost a 6-round split decision to Jasma Hogue, the fighter he's scheduled to fight next month. That was a split decision. So, you know, you can make the argument that, you know, he those last 2 fights were close enough that I didn't see the fight, so I'm not saying that they were bad decisions or anything like that. I'm just saying that I'm sure, you know, he would make the argument that, you know, hey, those fights could have gone my way, and if you're saying that, then, you know, now you're looking at a 10-6 fight instead of 8-8.
Exactly.
You know, and throughout his career, you know, like I said, he's only been stopped once. Ironically enough, the fighter who stopped him, Gene Perez, and I'm familiar with Gene Perez. Gene Perez came into that fight in 2016. Excuse me, he stopped Gene Perez. His only knockout was against Gene Perez, and Gene Perez came into that fight with a record of 1-6-1, and on paper you'd say, hey, you know, of course, you know, he's fighting a 1-6-1 fighter. Gene Perez is a really durable guy. He's a really sturdy opponent. I've seen him fight many times. So,
and I'm sorry, but there's a lot of fighters like him. And those durable fighters, even though their record doesn't show that they're great, but those durable fighters give these guys good rounds in the ring.
And that's what's amazing is his one knockout was against a guy that has gone the distance with quite a few very talented fighters. So, you know, but that could have been because both fighters, sort of like we saw in the first round here, saw that this was an opportunity and they maybe didn't respect their opponent as much. Gene Perez maybe, when he fights these undefeated prospects, fights a little more cautiously and a little more defensively.
True.
And against Jesus, he kind of threw caution to the wind and paid a price for it. And Jesus threw caution to the wind in round 1, came out aggressive, didn't respect Alec Mcgee's power. And everything I've seen since then shows he respects that power at this point. But it's still a competitive fight.
Exactly. Very competitive fight. Mcgee's in the middle. He's being touched a little bit more. He's more on the defensive side, I think, than this round. And the experience of PerArdua is coming. He's coming forward.
Well, I've got to say, Alec pops the jab there. A nice jab.
Nice jab.
Well, like I said, this is a nice improvement for Alec Mcgee from what I've seen before, but there's still definitely some things that I'm sure his team is looking at and saying, hey, you know what, here's something we can improve upon. And, you know, if he wins this fight, he's 9-2, and you know, you can start talking about things like, hey, you know, maybe we'll fight for that Continental Americas or USNBC belt, or maybe we'll be able to fight for a regional belt if we can get another couple wins. But the other thing is that those wins between 10 wins and 14, 15 wins, they get a lot tougher. You know,
because the opponents are at another level, you know.
Right.
Step back.
You know, you're going to start getting commissions who are going to start saying, you know what, you're not fighting this guy who's making his pro debut, who's got no amateur experience.
And let me say something here, man. He looks good.
He does.
He looks marketable. He's good for TV. He looks good. He's an exciting fighter, as you can see. People like him. Here we go.
He's got a good fan base here. I think he's got to be very pleased with this.
Good first round. Good fight to start off the night.
Well, overall, some of the things I'd like to see Alec work a little bit on that defense more, but this is a substantial improvement from what we've seen, and I'm excited to see Alec Mcgee's career continue. He's clearly a fighter progressing well.
Yes, very good fight for him. Very impressed by his performance tonight. And I believe, David, I can say I think that knockdown got him the win.
I think so, because this was a good performance for him, but make no mistake, I'm not saying it was a dominant performance. These were some close rounds, but it was the kind of performance that I think he needed. He got some work, he learned something in the ring. I feel like he's learned something about himself and learned some new things in the ring. He also got newfound respect for his power.
Exactly.
That knockdown even told him, even he now knows he's got the power to knock down a very durable guy who has never been stopped in his professional career.
And also that gives him confidence for his next fight.
Right.
He has the power now. It gives him confidence. So definitely they did something different in training camp.
Exactly.
And they probably worked on power shots, power punches. So yeah, definitely showed right there.
It did, because PerArdua, we didn't say this during the fight, 8-8 record with 1 knockout, never been stopped in his career. So Alec Mcgee came closer to stopping him than a lot of fighters who we regard as power punchers. So that just goes to show that, Alec Mcgee is the kind of fighter you've got to respect his power. He may not be a Deontay Wilder, but you can't just try and walk through him.
Good fight. And at that weight, you don't have a lot of power punchers at his division. I don't think he's ever fought a big power puncher.
Good point.
I don't even think he's been knocked down before, has he? McGee?
He has been stopped once before.
Once stopped.
I haven't seen the fight he has been stopped.
There you go. And like you say, Dave, big win for him, and that's gonna catapult him on his next fight. That was good for him, man. Good fight to start off the night.
It was a very good win, very exciting performance. I think we're gonna see a lot from Alec Mcgee, and he's got to be happy with this performance. Well, our first fight of the night is behind us. Alec Mcgee wins a unanimous decision over Jesus PerArdua. A very impressive performance. It was a unanimous decision. I think, like you said, that first round, that knockdown in the first round was determinative. But with that being said, I haven't seen, he didn't announce the actual score, so we don't know how close it actually was.
So let me ask you think if you would have gotten the knockdown, you think it would have been the same outcome?
I think so. It was close, but I think Alec was a little more polished, a little flashier. I think he would have got the benefit of those close rounds.
More aggressive, huh?
Yeah, PerArdua, really that round one when he was throwing caution to the wind and just coming forward for Alec, that was, I think, a round that you can give to him, but for the knockdown, because he was the aggressive fighter. But that knockdown made him respect Alec a lot more, and it was like watching Chris Bird fighting a Chris Bird fight, where you see this guy with 3 times as many knockouts as Chris Bird has, and he's cautious and coming in there and afraid to jump in with Chris Bird because he's tasted just enough power to realize this guy is not to be trifled with.
And you know what? These fighters, after they come out after a bad round, they'll make those adjustments, and that's impressive because Mcgee was able to make those adjustments, and that's good on a fighter, making adjustments, right? Adapt and overcome.
So our next fight is going to be Garret Lopez versus David Espino. Now, those of you are watching this fight are probably thinking, Garret Lopez, 1-3, 1 knockout. David Espino, 0-3. You're probably thinking, you know what, this is a good fight to go and get a, to get a beer out of the fridge or step away from the screen during the Athlete and Me TV broadcast. I'm telling you, do not blink during this fight. These are surprisingly good fighters despite their record. Anybody who's seen either of these fighters fight know that they come they bring a lot to the table despite their less than flashy records, and they both know that this is a must-win fight for them. For lack of a better way to put it, they recognize they've got to win this fight.
Well, Garret Lopez, if I'm not mistaken, on his first fight, he fought Victor Aranda in Las Cruces, and that was a fight. He knocked down Victor Aranda. He still lost the fight, but that was the fight that a lot of fighters, he gained respect. He got my respect. I've never seen this fighter, not even in the amateur ranks.
Right.
Garret Lopez got my respect, got the boxing community's respect. This guy's a warrior. This guy's gonna is come forward. Let's put it in here. Let's get these crowd motivated. And you're right. Guys, do not miss nothing. This guy comes to fight.
He is, and that fight was also televised here on Athlete Me TV, and you're right, Victor Aranda, an Olympic alternate.
Yes.
One of the hottest prospects in the Southwest.
Yes.
He came out, and that was one of those funny things. We talked about it against Alec Mcgee. When you don't respect your opponent and you walk through them, I really think Victor Aranda came into this thinking, hey,
thinking he was going to win.
I'm fighting a guy in his mid-30s, almost non-existent amateur career.
Yep.
And I'm just going to go and blow him out. And early on, we were commenting and watching this and saying, you know what, this Garret Lopez is not going to fall down. He's a tough guy.
Yep.
And he was right there in front of Aranda the whole time.
What a fight, huh?
It absolutely.
I think this should be one of the main events.
Now that we've talked up Garret Lopez, you're probably saying, a lot of viewers are saying, well, David Espino, 0-3. This must be just a tune-up fight for Garret. They're giving Garret Lopez
Let me check out the
easy
guns
win.
while he's doing that.
Wait a minute on that, though. David Espino has lost all 3 of his pro fights by distance. All 3 of them were undefeated fighters. Preston Harris technically was making his pro debut
good luck, champ.
in his first fight, lost a decision to him. Daniel Gonzalez was 1-0. Ezekiel Duran was 2-0. His fight against Duran,
Just give me a thumbs up, everything's okay.
his fight against Ezekiel Duran was a split decision loss. He believes that 2 of those decisions should have gone to him. He feels that he's 2-1. You know how it goes in boxing.
Exactly.
Fighters sometimes say that, and maybe it's not true, but I got to believe at least one of the judges, and Ezekiel Duran agreed with him, thought he won that fight. And he was fighting a 2-0 fighter there. So David Espino, for an 0-3 fighter, this is a winnable fight for him, too. He's never been knocked out, gone the distance. I'm excited about this. This is a well-matched fight.
And I've never seen Espino fight. You're right. I can't speak about him, but you're right. I mean, I think anything can happen in boxing. You never know. And again, the training camp will show on both fighters how much training, how much did he put into it in this training camp. I think training camp is everything, man.
Absolutely.
How much did you put in for it, man?
Absolutely. And you know, one of the interesting things is you get a guy like Garret Lopez and David Espino, 2 guys like this. And let's be honest, Garret Lopez, you know, his career, he wasn't really handed anything. I think the Anthony Jones fight he fought here up in Las Cruces, that was, you know, against an 0-2 Anthony Jones. That was a fight that was probably designed to give him a win after his fight with Aranda, you know.
To just pick him up.
Yeah, just kind of give him a pickup fight, but he doesn't get very many of those. In fact, I would say that was the only one he's got, and this is not going to be one of those fights. Same for David Espino. He's fought 3 guys, 3 undefeated fighters.
They get him ready down there.
You know, this is a rare fight for both of them. They've got a very winnable fight for them. And I guarantee you, whoever loses this fight, if it's a close fight,
Let's see a smile.
especially if they haven't given it their
Let's
all,
check out the guns.
they're going to regret that. They're going to really be
You ready to go,
haunted
champ?
by that.
All right, good luck to you.
afterwards.
Good luck. Thank you. Appreciate it. Good luck, man.
And I think Lopez needs a win tonight. And he needs a win. It's kind of the hometown. I know he's from Las Cruces, but there's a lot of Las Cruces here in El Paso.
Exactly. It's not a long drive.
We are coming to you live from the historic, iconic El Paso County Coliseum. Money Promotions and School of Hard Promotions presents Throwdown in Chuco Town. The following contest is scheduled for 4 rounds in the middleweight division. Introducing first to you, on my left, fighting out of the red corner, wearing the black with gold trim. He weighed in at 157
Let me give you
pounds. He has a record of 1 win with 3 defeats. Representing
Well, before
Gentlemen,
this
you
fight,
both
I
received
was
instructions, so I expect you to obey
interviewing
my
David
commands.
Espino
Protect
right
yourselves
before
at all times.
the Alec
Remember,
Mcgee
we're
fight.
here to see a good, clean fight, and that's what I
I'm gonna
expect.
tell you,
Touch
David is
gloves
cool
and
as a
good luck.
cucumber.
He looks composed. And I guess that's the key too, right? I mean, to come into a fight and have, composure, relax, going in the ring, not too much. We'll see, man, because I know there's nerves in both fighters, especially when you're facing that guy over there, Garret Lopez.
Well, I said this when he fought PerArdua. I was like, Garret Lopez, he's the nicest guy when you talk to him, but when you look at him, you're like, oh, this is a guy not to be trifled with. I would not want to get on his bad side.
Or you wouldn't want to encounter him in a dark alley, man.
Exactly.
But you're right, man. You've talked to this guy, Lopez, and he's a cool dude, man. He's a nice guy, always willing to take pictures and talk, but I was a big fan after the Aranda fight. He did great.
Too. Now, this first round, both fighters are fighting pretty cautiously. And
down! What's the corner?
What a look.
Garret Lopez sends David Espino to the canvas.
6, 7,
Espino didn't have his hands up.
9,
He had him
pick up
low.
your hands.
He caught him.
Walk to
David
me.
Espino 0-3.
You okay?
Losses
You want to continue?
Undefeated fighters, never been knocked down. Gets knocked down by the 1-3 Garret Lopez, but like I said, he's in good company with PerArdua, and right now, he's in trouble. There's no other way to put it. His legs are not fully underneath him.
But he said cool as a cucumber. He needs to keep his composure. He's going to have to weather the storm.
He is. Now, Garret Lopez is throwing everything at
No.
left hook, delayed reaction, but referee Robert Velez is not calling it a knockdown. I saw a left hand, and
I
then
saw it too.
Yeah, I think you can make a good argument that was a knockdown, but it was a delayed reaction.
There's a body shot from Espino. Here he comes now.
Well, Espino,
That was low.
Garret threw a lot of punches, and he's still throwing a lot of punches. Overhand right, wild overhand right, but he grazes the chin of Espino. He's got probably another minute and a half to get out of this round, but I'm going to tell you,
If he weathers the storm,
yeah, this could be a different fight in round 2.
Exactly.
Because Garret is throwing everything at him.
Don't push him,
and you can see his mouth is open.
Exactly,
right now,
and he might have gassed himself out.
he might have. But that's where training comes into.
Training camp, you're
Because
right.
a good training camp, when you get winded in that first round after throwing everything at your opponent and he's still standing, you get that opportunity in the second round and you get your win back with a good training camp.
And Espino's being smart. He's going to the body more, as you can see. He's trying to get, he knows that probably Lopez gassed out, and Espino's throwing some body shots there. Here's
What's the corner?
Wide overhand right.
3,
Espino to the
4, 5,
just when it
6,
looked like Espino had weathered the
7,
storm,
8.
Lopez has
Pick up
another
your hand.
shot of
You okay?
another thunderbolt to send Espino to the canvas. And I'm going to be honest, if another knockdown in this round, and I think he'd make a good argument to stop the fight.
He has that left hand down.
One thing, and this is a rookie mistake, David Espino, he is
10 seconds, 10 seconds.
He has not initiated any clinches. And he's clearly hurt. You see him stumble back.
Down.
Whoa,
Neutral corner. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Walk to me. Are you okay? Do you want to continue?
He looks okay, Dave, but I think
I'm stopping
he's
it, boy.
tired.
I'm stopping.
It's over. It is over.
Okay.
David Espino, one of the things every seasoned fighter will tell you is you got to convince that referee
That you're ready.
You're ready to go. I think David Espino wanted to go, but he didn't convince referee Robert Velez. And really, to be honest, if you've been knocked down 3 times, even if the 3 knockdown rule is not in effect, you can't be upset if the referee stops the fight.
You're right, and the referee's job is, look, who cares about the fans? It's the safety of the fighters. That is his main priority.
But David Espino, he got up. His legs didn't look like they were fully under him. You saw Robert Velez specifically ask him, "Are you all right?" He nodded yes, but he didn't sell it very well. And I think you're right. I think he could have continued, but I have no issue with that stoppage. I think when you've been knocked down 3 times, the only reason that I would have second-guessed that continuance is because we heard the 10
2 minutes, 59.
We heard that the round was almost over, but when you're a referee, you don't take that into account. You don't take into account, well, there's only 5 seconds left in this round, but this guy is really hurt. I think back It's about 25 years ago. There's a fight, Chris Eubank versus Michael Watson in the United Kingdom.
Didn't see it.
Michael Watson was clearly ahead on the scorecards after 11, gets knocked out in devastating fashion in round 11, gets back to his corner. His corner can see he's damaged, but they decide to send him out for round 12 because he's so far ahead on the scorecards. All he has to do is survive the round and wins the fight. And what happens is he gets stopped about 30 seconds into the 12th round, ends up in the hospital, and never fights again.
There you go.
So, you know, you can't, and you understand where the corner was coming from. They thought, listen, all you need to do is have enough legs to literally run around in circles.
Get over here, man.
You don't have to engage your opponent.
We were doing a good one, man. We were doing a good one.
But if your opponent is hurt, you can't do that.
Exactly. You know, we're talking about how the referee's responsibility, right? Let's not go too far. Remember the Jose Luis Castillo against Diego Chico Corrales, man. Tony Weeks, again, he stopped that fight, and people thought he stopped the fight early. Remember that fight?
Exactly.
And he didn't stop the fight. He stopped it because his job was the safety of the officers. Well, what a way to start the first two fights here at the famous El Paso County Coliseum. Did you know something, Dave? A fact about this place, that in 19, I'm going to say, what was it, 1960, 1971, I think, Elvis Presley performed here to a sellout crowd of 9,000 people.
Wow.
Alice Cooper to name, Iron Maiden.
Can you imagine Elvis Presley being booked in a venue that could only have 9,000 people?
And it got sold out.
Yeah.
And this is a staple for Golden Gloves.
And it really is a great venue. It's a historic venue. I've covered fights here. I don't know if you remember Zeph Ramirez. Back in the day, he was about 15 years ago. He promoted fights out here. He worked with David Rodriguez.
Was it Zephyrinho Promotions?
Yeah, Zephyrinho Promotions. And I covered some fights here that were located there. You had a fighter out of Kansas named David Medina, really talented young middleweight. And he fought here, defended his WBC regional belt. I think it was a Continental Americas belt here.
You know, Kayla is another big prospect.
It's great to see young prospects like that, Dave, because
really is.
you know, Jennifer Hahn is the sweetheart of El Paso, but then you have young girls like his coming up in the ranks and doing something for themselves. It's awesome to see that, man.
It is, and it's great to see these great local legendary fighters like Antonio Escalante here again. You know, I remember watching him fight early in his career. You know, he had fought in a WBO world title fight eliminator. You know, he was a great fighter in his day. And a real personable guy. You know, it's exciting to see an El Paso boxing legend here in the ring as well.
And doing great and doing good.
Absolutely,
you know, a lot of times these fighters, man, they get caught up on other things and get in trouble. Because you know what, boxing is a poor man's sport. I own a gym, and I help so many kids, so many youths need so much help, man, and guidance now in these days. And you see them come up, man, and man, they need so much help, man.
And that's true, and that's one of the great things about the sport of boxing is it really does offer a lot to a lot of people who wouldn't have these opportunities.
Exactly.
You know, one of the great ironies is I remember covering a fight recently here at Athlete Me TV, a young basketball player who didn't actually gravitate towards boxing, but he was having trouble with his GPA, got kicked off the basketball team in college, and went to a boxing gym and shined in boxing. So you know, it's a great opportunity for young athletes, and it's great to see so many of these young fighters who, you know, a lot of times they come from disadvantaged backgrounds and they come into boxing, and it really turns their life around. Got a short intermission, and we're going to talk a little bit during this intermission about our main event, Jorge Tovar versus Herman Rendon. It's a super middleweight fight. I'm going to be honest, folks, I've seen both of these guys fight quite a bit. I've seen Herman Rendon's first two fights. He came in as an underdog. His pro debut, he fought a guy named James Land, a guy who was 2-0-1. James actually paid for him to be on the fight. He paid for him as an opponent. Herman Rendon had no background in boxing. He was an MMA fighter. Herman scored the upset. His next fight, he fought another undefeated fighter in his hometown, a guy named Your Highness Rezak in Hobbs, New Mexico. Again, brought in as the opponent. Again, he scored the upset. But I'm going to be real honest here. These are good regional prospects, but Jorge Tovar is at a different stratosphere. I mean, he is one of the most supremely talented fighters I've seen, and I think that this is going to be a much tougher fight for Herman Rendon. But again, anything can happen in boxing.
Yeah, anything can happen. But you know what? And you know what? Tovar also needs a little bit more competition here. So hopefully Rendon gives him that competition. But you're right. Tovar's at a whole different level. Great fighter. Great forward fighter, comes forward. He's a very strong puncher.
Well, Rendon's only loss was to a fighter named Dante Benjamin. Dante was making his pro debut, stopped him in one round. And that Dante is now a 5-0 prospect himself. Identical record to Jorge Tovar. I think this is I'm going to be honest. If you're watching this fight, you know, I wouldn't necessarily be looking for an upset. Rendon is a scrappy guy, but Tovar is a supremely talented fighter. But with that being said, we've seen what Rendon can do against those Class B prospects.
Yeah, okay.
We also saw what happened when he fought a Class A prospect. This is a good opportunity for Tovar to tell the world, I am a Class A prospect. I'm one of these guys who's going to blow out one of these fighters like Herman Rendon. Because if he struggles and wins a decision, I'm going to be honest. There's going to be some people who are going to say, wait a second, this is supposed to be, one of these top-tier prospects, and he's struggling with this guy. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm not even going to say it's necessarily a bad thing for him because...
Yeah, that's what I was... Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But I think one of the things you've got to worry about if you're Jorge Tovar is what I just said. Don't let it get into your head too much. There is an old adage in boxing, you win today, look good next time.
And you know what, you're right. And what I meant also is, like, I didn't say that there were hand-me-overs the other fights for Tovar, but
right.
I mean, it's good that Tovar gets challenged a little bit because it helps him for his next fight.
Exactly.
Because he's been extremely dominant in all his fights. Because he is skillful, because he is powerful, and he's, like you say, supremely talented.
And that's a very good point, because one of the things you have to watch out for when you're a young prospect like Tovar is, and you need a good management team behind you to do this, because there's that perfect balance. You don't want to throw him in with the wolves too early. I remember watching a future heavyweight champ, Oleg Maskayev, a Russian fighter who relocated to the United States, and I believe it was his 5th professional fight. He fought a former world champ named Oliver McCall.
Oh, I remember Oliver McCall.
And Oliver McCall, it was just too much too soon. Or we can look at that very, very memorable fight, Salido, when he fought Lomachenko. Lomachenko in his second pro fight decided to fight for a world title and ended up on the losing end of a very close decision. It was a little too much too soon.
Well, let's not go too far, man. Antonio Escalante.
Exactly.
They put him in too soon with Ponce de Leon.
Right.
Ponce de Leon, I think, was the one that kind of retired Antonio Escalante, if you ask me. It was too soon for Escalante.
You have to find, you don't want to move him too quickly. Like you said, 5-0, you want to give him somebody who may not necessarily challenge him, but will show him something he hasn't seen, something he can learn in the fight. But at the same time, you want to be careful, because a fighter can stagnate. If he's fighting nothing but guys he can blow out in the first round, it starts to have an effect on his growth. It starts to have an effect on his development. It starts to have an effect many times on his training camp. And I can't tell you the number of fighters, in fact, here in El Paso, David Rodriguez, a lot of people felt that's what happened to David Rodriguez. Great fighter, showed a lot of talent, but he didn't quite take that next step, and it started to stagnate after a while.
And you think maybe it was because what you just said? Sometimes that can be bad too. But then on the flip side, when it's too early to put him in.
And that's where you need that perfect management team. You need a trainer who's because let me tell you something. You can ask Jorge Tovar, are you ready to fight for a world title tomorrow? And I'm probably willing to bet he's going to say, yes, I will fight
anybody.
I will fight anybody. I will fight Canelo Alvarez on May 6th in Guadalajara. He's fighting in Guadalajara. He says, hey, if they need an opponent, I'll come down and fight Canelo Alvarez on May 6th.
Exactly.
That's what a fighter does. That's what makes them a fighter, is that belief in themselves, that confidence, that willingness to take on the world, to take on the toughest challenge. That's what makes them a fighter. You need a trainer and you need a manager who can move that fighter along at a good pace.
And I really believe that Jorge's team, he has a very good team, very good manager, and I think they're going to move him and guide him the right way.
I think so too. And to be honest, these 5 guys he's fought are not world beaters by any means, but they are appropriate fights for a young fighter developing. When he fought 2 fights ago against Tavoris Teague, not here, but in El Paso at the Pan American Center, not El Paso, in Las Cruces at the Pan American Center, Teague had 32 losses. And a lot of people, watching were probably saying, wait a second, I'm watching a 4-0 fighter fighting a guy who's 6-32. Well, guess what? Teague was a cagey veteran who had seen everything. You want Tovar, of course, Tovar, won that fight. Nobody was surprised by that. But you want to fight where he gets to see something he might not have seen before. Not seriously challenged, but he still learned something.
Well, look, man, people will talk, well, he's 6-32, but holy smokes, man, he's been up there, man.
Exactly.
And that's experience, man. You got to respect these fighters, because you know what, Tovar's coming up, man, and they're gonna. He needs to get the level of opponents as well. But you're right. I mean, I guess the question is, when is he going to be ready? And that's a thing that the management's going to have to do. His trainer and his